Okay, so we're Comp 1050 Animation 2D Tools, and it's week 3, part 3. We're talking about using text, and a couple of important things. Again, I'm going to kind of skip through this lesson a little bit quicker than the other one, because the other one was including ActionScript for the first time. This one we're going to talk about classic text and TLF text, and we're also going to be talking about hyperlinks, right? Creating hyperlinks for the text itself, which is an important part of creating your Flash banner ad, right? So you need to know that part. We're also going to be creating editable text because we're going to create a little calculator, a little mortgage calculator in our application. Okay, and we're also going to learn how to embed fonts and load external text. We'll do that all in 1 hour. Let's try and do this. Here we go. Okay, so there's two text layouts. The text layout framework, which is TLF, and allows us to do titles, different layouts, and also store dynamic content. Okay, so we're going to use a new Flash document this time around. Here's our Flash. We're going to go File, Open, and I'm going to do 07 Start FLA. Here we are. Here's the 007 Start FLA. I'm going to kind of fit it in the window. Here it is. And this is a real estate site that we're going to use for our practice. Okay. We're going to call this 07 Working Copy FLA just so we can save it, save our work. It's important for us to do that. Let's just get in there and do that. So File, Save As, and then 07 Working Copy.FLA. Again, I'm just going to call mine 07 because I've already built it. Cool. All right, so let's talk about this. There's two different options, again, like I mentioned. Classic text, you can use that when you don't need a lot of layout control. But mostly TLF text is when you need to do more sophisticated control for text. Okay. We also want to be able to embed our fonts inside of our Swift file, right? And we're going to create another file called a Swizz file, an SWZ file. And it's going to be an external ActionScript file that supports TLF. Okay. So basically what we want to do is you want to have TLF will only work if the user who's looking at your work has the same fonts in the system, or if you embed the fonts within the Swift file. Right? So you have to be very careful how this works. Otherwise, it won't turn out the way you think in his browser or her browser. Okay, so under Publishing Settings, we go for Settings for ActionScript 3, right? And we open up the settings, the dialog box, right? Under Library Path, so here we go. So Settings for ActionScript 3. Right, under the dialog box. Here's the dialog box for that. Right, we want to look at text layout.swiss, the SWC, and basically what it's going to, that's the runtime shared library for the text. Okay. There's two modes you can use, right? So here it is. Here is the text layout. There's two modes, right? You can basically, so you can use it so that it's runtime shared library, or you can do merged into code. Right now we're going to leave it at runtime shared library. Okay, but if you choose to merge it into code, what it does is it publishes it publishes your text, and it merges it into your Swift file. Right, which makes your Swift file a little bit larger, because basically it takes all of your TrueType font or whatever font you're using and embeds it inside your Swift file. It's big. We're not going to do that though. So we're going to add some simple text to the timeline. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the banner layer and click New Button, New Layer button, and rename it Text. And then we're going to select our Text tool, and we're going to drag in. We're going to actually make it so that the style, sorry, the Times New Roman for the family, bold for the style, 20 for the size, and 14 for the letting, black for the color. So let's just go there and do it. So it says out here. On top of the banner, we're going to add a new file, a new layer called text. And it's really good to create its own layer. Like when you do your text for your flash banner ad, I would recommend highly that you create its own, your own layer for all the text that you're going to put into it. Because otherwise, sometimes it gets embedded with other objects. It's not good. From a management perspective, you should always keep your layers for different objects separate. Okay, so again, we're going to select the text tool. We're going to select Times New Roman, I believe, for the family. The size is going to be 20. And the letting is going to be 14. Who remembers what the letting is in typography? Anybody? If you don't know what it is, I recommend highly that you take a quick peek. We'll do it together, right? So typography letting. So Wikipedia actually has a really cool article here, right? And it says, in typography, letting refers to the distance between the baselines of successive lines of type, right? Between the baselines. The term originated in the days of hand typesetting, when thin strips of lead were inserted into the forms to increase the vertical distance between lines of type. Okay. Line spacing is the other way of thinking about it. Line spacing. Okay. So example, here is the letting. A block of text has some default settings. The letting is a little tighter here. Take a look up here on the screen. Right? Tighter text. This is the letting is looser, right? And here's 100% letting, right, with lots of space. So letting is the space between baselines of text, between different lines. Okay? Okay. I wanted to do that because sometimes we do something and we don't talk about what it is, right? So there's 3 different states for your text. You could have read-only text. You can have selectable text. You can have editable text. Those are the 3 types, right? Read-only is when you want to just have a text like a label. Editable is when you want to have an edit text box, if you will, a text box. And selectable is when you want to be able to copy and do something with it. Okay. We're going to click the top left corner of the stage where you want to begin, typing our text, right? And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to type in the address, right? Underneath the about, where we actually see where the about neighborhood is. Let's go here. We type in about neighborhood yet? In the green box, that's right. So the top left corner of the stage is 198 7th Avenue. That's what we're going to put in there, right? 198 7th Avenue, South Slope. Let's do that. So right here, 198 7th Avenue, South Slope. Okay. Inside going back to the PowerPoint, so we've added that in there, right? We haven't told it where to be yet. We're going to put it at 90 and 10. That's where in the Properties Inspector. So here we are. I select the selection bar, selection tool, 90 and 10. That's where it needs to go. Right at the top. 198 7th Avenue, South Slope. Okay. Back to PowerPoint. I'm going to do it again. This time I'm going to select read only again, and it's going to be Times New Roman bold, and it's going to be size 12 and 12 letting with a white color. Okay. Size 12, bold, 12 again, with a white color. We're going to put that over here. And I think this is where we put in about the neighborhood. Sorry, Now, if you're like me, blind like I am, I can't see what I'm typing. I'm going to zoom in. Okay, there it is, about the neighborhood. I'm going to place it. Now it's got to be put at 70 and 460. So select it, 70 and 460. There it is. We're also going to do the same thing for mortgage calculator. Right, we're going to actually put in some text where it says mortgage calculator right there, same size. So here we are. So we're going to go over, space over, same size text, mortgage calculator. Just like that. And that's supposed to be at 480 and 460. So 480 and 460. So again, we're placing our text where we want to go. How would I mean, this is given to us, these locations, right? A lot of this you have to define yourself when you make your own flash banner or when you're using text or doing whatever. You kind of decide what looks pleasing to your eye. I'm going to save it at this point. Okay, we're going to do some vertical text now, right? And we're going to put that, first we're going to select the text tool. I'm going to deselect here, select the text tool. And under the text tool, we're going to create a read-only TLF text. We're going to choose Arial Narrow this time. Right, so Arial. I got lots of fonts on my system, so let's just go find Arial Narrow. Here it is, Arial Narrow, and with a regular style, and it's going to be a 38 size. We don't care about the letting because there's not going to be another line. And the text should be white in color. We're going to go over here to the edge of our design here. And we're going to type in, one thing we have to change is the alignment here. If you look at the top right corner, you can change your alignment from horizontal to vertical. And this is where you're going to type in Meridian Real Estate, Live Your Dream. Let's try it again. Meridian Real Estate, Live Your Dream. And if I made a mistake, I can always zoom out to make sure I did make a mistake, to make sure that I got it right. The your should be, oops, I love it. Real estate, live your dream. Okay, we got that. We want to put it in the right position. Of course, it doesn't tell us where to go, but we're going to kind of drag it into the right position anyway. So what I'm going to do is kind of center this thing. There it is. Meridian Real Estate, and I typed it in wrong. I love it. Wait, I guess I'm not good at typing in a vertical way, like everybody else. Okay, click away, click away. Okay, we're going to change the 7th to a special character. Superscript. So again, I'm going to zoom in there to do that. Select the area that I want to see because I'm blind, like I said. I don't have the same capabilities you might have, you young people. So here's Superscript. We're going to put this to the 7th, right? Is that right? And we're going to change the other text to uppercase. Just back out of this. So fit in window. I'm going to select both with the Shift key. And under advanced characters down here, under if you keep going, case, make uppercase. So I changed to uppercase automatically. So again, if you have a case of mixed case or whatever, it'll change it up nicely for you. So again, we're playing around with the case right now. Also, live your dream. It's kind of like all the same. We want to kind of reduce it. So we're going to choose a font size of 22 and our baseline shift of 6. We want to kind of shift it down. So again, we're going to select our live your dream. We're going to go to a size of 22. And then our baseline shift, we're going to go to 6 because it's going to shift it up a little bit. There it is. Save it. Okay, we're going to add multiple columns. We're going to make our text tool now. The great thing about these text tools is it allows us to flow between one text area and the next. It creates this flow. Now theoretically, if we're making a website, now this is using a Flash, like Flash to make websites, which is something we're never going to do, ever. I'm showing you how to use text in this illustration, but I probably would never do this with Flash. Okay. So let's take a look at, we're going to add in a column, right? So we're going to select, deselect, click this. We're going to go back to horizontal. We're going to do that. We're going to go back to Times New Roman, because that's important to do. There's Times New Roman. We're going to stick with bold, so then we need to do that. And we're going to go with a size of 14, so a style of 14 and a size of 14 and a letting of 16. And then we're going to choose black for color. And in the container and flow area, we're going to choose 3 columns. So right now, let us put it in. So from here, we're just going to put a kind of a text area right here. In our container and flow, way back down here, we're going to use 3 columns. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this sample document that I have, this text document, right? 07 sample real estate text.txt. And it has this rooms 3, beds 1, and all this kind of stuff. We're going to kind of put it in there, right? So let's just do that. So I'm going to go File, into my code archive. And this one here, it's going to pull up. Here it is. I'm going to take my rooms 1, all this stuff, $350,000, blah, 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 copy it. I'm going to go back into my document here and paste it. Now, immediately what I notice is a couple things. If I zoom in, I have extra space. This little red mark on the text field shows us that we have extra space available to us. And this is the same in Adobe Illustrator as well, and Photoshop, right? So if you actually expand this, here as I'm expanding it, so I can have more room. Same thing with up higher. I can actually expand it a little bit more. So because just underneath this, let's just look at the example that we were given. No, it's 3 high. A little bit wider. So a little bit wider. And we're only going to go 3 high. Okay. and wider than that. There we go. Okay, so this is our text that's been divided into 3 columns. Now again, they didn't really tell us exactly where to position this. That's okay. We're going to put it so it lines up exactly underneath the 1 in the address. So here we are. It's right underneath the 1. There we go. It's aligned. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to create another one, right, for the about the neighborhood section, right? We're going to create another one, and it's going to be quite big as well. It's going to be 12-point, 12 leading, black, regular Times New Roman. So click away, click back, 12 and 12, regular Times New Roman, and we're going to go into the neighborhood section here. And if you look at the example, it takes up most of the room. So from here all the way to here probably. Maybe even more. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to kind of click on this or use our text. It is TLF text, but we're going to put in, I believe it's 2 columns. Yeah, 2 columns. And we're going to talk about the neighborhood itself. So we're going to take this document, this lorem ipsum stuff, and drag and drop it into this 2 columns. So go back to the document. Here's about the neighborhood, lorem ipsum. Grab it, go in here, paste it, and there it fits into our document, right? So lorem ipsum kind of flows into there. So 2 columns are important when you create, like you may want to do that for your Flash banner ad. But again, think about your Flash banner ad, just like we talked about this morning from a web design perspective. What you want to do is you want to make it so that the typography is bigger. It's a little bit more attractive and not a lot of words. Don't put too many words in your ad or your Flash banner ad. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of words that flash in and out. And it's hard for people to read that fast anyway. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing now for, we got the about the neighborhood stuff. What we're going to do is, if it doesn't fit, we can move things around like we said. And there might be an area where in this area here that it doesn't fit around. In our case, I made it big enough so it fits. There is no red X there, so we can skip that part. All right. And we can use the tab ruler inside the text itself. For example, if I click in there with my text tool, and what I can do is I can use the tab ruler to kind of tab in there and have more control over my columns the way I like. So I can tab in, make it a little cleaner. And I can change the margins and so on. I'm not going to do too much of that right now. I'm just going to move over to wrapping the text for really long passages, right? First, I'm going to drag and drop this. I'm going to create a new layer called Images, and I'm going to drag the Images layer underneath the banner layer. So let's try that. So go in here, and I'm going to put a new layer here, Images. There it is. I'm going to lock up my text for a second, and I'm going to go into my library, and I'm going to take my, actually I'm going to zoom out so I can see everything. There it is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my Photos movie clip, and I'm going to drag it to the stage at 0 and 230. Okay. So here I am, back to this. Photos, drag it onto the stage, approximately where it's going to be. Properties, x is 0, y is 230. So kind of make it so it pops out. And if I run my movie now, right, it already has this kind of gallery that's built into it. From a real estate perspective, you have this photo gallery kind of thing. And you see this in many, many real estate sites now, even now. Getting there. All right. We're also going to grab in, this contact for the real estate agent herself, and we're going to put it at 620 and 175. So, real estate agent for the contact. Did I say 620, 175? There it is. So here's the contact for the real estate agent. And now we're going to start dragging around this text tool. We're going to make it so that the the family is Times New Roman. Still going to be read-only, regular style, 14 size, and 20 for letting. So quite a bit of letting. So we'll go back to click away. Here's the fonts, 14 and 20 if I'm not wrong. Times New Roman regular black, right? Yep. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag these boxes around. The first one we're going to kind of do halfway down here, and we're going to kind of do it to about there. That's our first text box. We're going to try to do it again, but the way we're going to do it is we're going to click that bottom box on the right. There's this little bottom box right here. We're going to click onto it. And when we do, our mouse changes to show another container type. We're going to sort of grab this, and we're going to kind of drag it down here for now. We can reposition this in a second. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit too wide. We're going to kind of put it back just a little bit. Maybe expand this one a little bit too. There we go. And now we're going to do the same thing for the other boxes. So 1, 2, 3 more boxes, just the same. Oops, let's try that again. 1. Just going to move this up. 2. And with my bad eyes, I got to get right in there. Maybe a little lower to there. Yep. And then 3. This big box at the bottom. I know it's kind of singularly painful to watch this process because it's like watching paint peel sometimes. But the great thing about it, things we can learn from this kind of stuff here is how to position stuff. You know, one thing that I would use Flash for 100%, and I've done it many times, is create a mock site, a prototype for clients. So it's not quite a site. It's just a site that we're going to use to show them a clickable walkthrough, right? Now that's useful because what you're doing here is you're creating layout elements, almost an enhanced wireframe, if you will, right? Where you're thinking, well, this is where the text is going to flow, and this is how it's going to look like. That's useful because then it can flow. You can create clickable, very simple clickable events, and so on before you have your true site. Okay, so we've got a bunch of these layers. If you notice, this is just the path that all the text boxes are going to flow. In fact, these text boxes are considered one big text box, right? They just flow because I've connected them all by clicking on this little square in the bottom. Okay, now we're going to take out that code and we're going to drag the description into there or copy it in there. So let me just go there. Here's the description. take this whole thing. Real estate agent writes this stuff all the time, by the way. They just write all kinds of gobbledygook about houses. Steps from the TTC, downtown Toronto. You can't beat this kind of house, even though it's 100 years old. All right. Actually, it's quite fun to write some of this stuff sometimes. I've done it a couple times. Okay, so you see we have this little square here. That means we have a little bit more room. We can make some more room for some of this text. So we're going to just expand some of these columns just a little bit. Make them a little wider. And it affects all the other text. Just once you make one, it kind of offsets the rest. Same thing with this one here. Make it a little bit taller. Expand it up a little bit. And same thing with this one. This one kind of didn't do much for us. There we go. And we'll just make this the same size. There we go. That should give us plenty of space down here. And it does. So we've kind of resized or readjusted our text boxes. And you'd have to do this a bunch of times. You know, again, almost like a magazine style that you put kind of flowing across. Actually, InDesign does something very similar to this, Adobe InDesign. When you create templates and desktop publishing for magazines and so on, you have the same kind of control with InDesign. All right, so we've let everything flow in, and I'm not going to do this right now with you, but you can easily remove boxes from the flow and add new boxes into the flow so it reflows, and Flash kind of does it on the fly for you. It's kind of cool that way. But again, I don't think I would do that unless I was going to create a prototype of some kind. So we won't do that right now. We're going to skip this part. Hyperlinking. This is kind of, I would say this is important because you need to know how to hyperlink. And you can do it without any ActionScript or HTML. This is built into Flash. So let's see how it works. All right, so we're going to double-click the second link text box on the stage and select the words Avalon Green. So here we go. We're going to set the second box. Here it is. And we're going to select these words here, Avalon Green. And what we're going to do is we're going to create this link. It's going to be, I believe it's HTTP. You have to put the HTTP in, avalongreen.org. Of course, it doesn't exist, really. Let's try that again. So http://www.avalongreen.org. When we do that, we want to also specify a blank target to take us away and create a new page. Right, there it is, Avalon Green. All right. When we do that, again, the styling for the link is pretty basic. I mean, again, you can modify what the link looks like and so on if you actually select oops. If you actually go in and select the text again, it'll give you the ability to color the link any way you like. There's different default you can choose, and again, from a styling perspective, there's a lot of control you have if you want to go there. Okay, so here's a link. So there's no ActionScript involved. If we test our movie out, here it is. And if I click on Avalon Green, it's going to take me to a site that doesn't exist, Avalon Green. Right? But it worked. It actually took us to the site that I asked it to go to. All right, so we've kind of done most of everything. Now we're going to kind of create this mortgage calculator, and I think this is where you can get some interesting stuff out of. I think out of this section, we kind of did text manipulation, but I think the editable text stuff is where you can actually use ActionScript to wire up some pretty cool UI elements. Okay, so we're going to add in some more text. It's going to be Times New Roman 12 and 12, black and regular. All right, so we're going to go back to Flash. Kill this movie for now. and we are going to put it inside the mortgage calculator area right here. So I'm going to click away, click this, 12 and 12, Times New Roman, black and regular. And we're going to add in some text. So I'm going to go to, here we go, we're going to add in term 30-year fixed, price 350,000. So let's do that. So term 30-year fixed. Right, we're gonna add another one. And again, I wouldn't use the controls here. Price 350,000. I'll kind of put separate lines here. Price 350,000. And the reason for that, this goes back to my Illustrator days. When you do graphic design, it's much easier for you to position stuff by hand, especially when it comes to editable text and creating your UI elements, as opposed to letting it flow by itself. You won't get the right, may not get the right look for it. Okay, so now I'm going to put rate, percent down, and monthly payments. Right, and all in all caps here. So rate, oops, and I'll place them in a second. Percent down, and monthly payments. I'm just going to put them on the stage right now, and I'm going to realign them in a second. So here's my rate. I want to kind of put this so that it's here, and I'm using my smart guides here to help me with some of the positioning. Okay, what I do want to do though is kind of expand this a little bit lower, and then kind of push this so that it is aligned to the right. And there's different ways of doing such a thing, but I like to use the stuff that's built in to Flash. Okay, so we have rate, percent down, a monthly payment. Let's just make sure it's the same. Payments, that'd be good if we actually can spell it properly, Tom. All right, so we got all these three things. So we've laid out things properly here. Now we're going to create a couple of editable text boxes. And what we're going to do is this is the place where we're going to hold our information. We're going to actually get the information from our for the rate and for the percent down. Okay, so let's just try that. So again, I'm clicking away, going back to the text tool and using editable text box. I'm going to create a same size font for this, and right next to rate, I'm going to put in the box, and it's going to be kind of small. It's hard for you to see here, but it's going to be big enough so you can see it in a second. All right, there it is. That's your first editable text box. Sorry, sometimes I say that it's like irritable bowel. Sorry, editable text. It's bad. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to change the, I want to go to the Properties Inspector, go to Container and Flow, and choose white, a white color, and a background alpha of 75%. And I want to do the same thing with the next one. So go back, Container and Flow, right? Make sure it's right. Yeah. Background color of white, and our color alpha is going to be at 75%. I can actually do it right. Now, it doesn't make sense for me to do it again, so I'm going to just resize it properly so it looks right. Here's our rate information, and then I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it, and drag the next one underneath. Now, if it's not right, and if I need more spacing, now's the time to do all that. And I think I'm going to try and match it up so that way it matches up with my boxes here. Okay, so rate, percent down. So kind of semi-transparent. And now I'm going to add the third box, but this time it's going to be read only. It's going to look kind of the same because this is where we're going to get our user. Do it again. That's good enough. But this time I'm going to change the, from editable, I'm going to go to read only as an example right here. I guess this is the one that's read only, monthly payments. It's going to be calculated for us. Okay, I'm going to put in a couple of values, 5.25 and 20. So in here, I'm going to type in 5.25, and percent down is 20. Let's see how that looks. And if you notice right now, they're kind of right aligned, and I'm going to change that to left aligned. There we go. Save it. Now we got to kind of embed the fonts, and because we've kind of added these areas, we don't care about the boxes we've kind of embedded in the movie, like for the actual text. We care about the data that's coming from us from the editable text boxes, right? So what we got to do is we got to select the first box next to rate, and in the character section we have to click the embed button as an example. And when we do that, we're going to click on numerals. So first text button in the character section, embed. It's going to bring up this little dialog, and we're going to click in there numerals because that's the only thing we care about. Press OK. So now we're embedding numerals, and I think we got to do the same thing for percent down. Let me see if I'm not wrong. Yep. Another alternative is when you're doing this kind of stuff, you can make the user have whatever device fonts he's got built into his device. You can choose _sans for compatible sans serif or sans font, an _serif for an for a default serif font that he has on his device, and an _typewriter for some kind of system font that he would have on his device, whatever it is. You can do that as well, but we're not going to do that right now. Let me just change that as well. So for number 2, embed, and numerals is already kind of encoded in there. Okay. We want to create instances now, just like we did in the first side. We're going to create instances of each of these boxes. One is going to be called rate_txt, down txt, and monthly txt. So each of the text boxes is going to have its own instance. So rate _txt, right, down _txt, and I believe payments. Is that what it was? Yeah. Monthly _txt. So each of them now has an instance name. Each of these boxes, I'm going to save my work. Okay, still we haven't put any kind of action script in here at all. But now we're going to. Okay, so we're going to unlock the calculator layer, right? And let's take a look here. We're going to unlock the calculator layer, click on the button, and in the instance name for the button, we're going to put in calculate button. Oh, let's try that again. Calculate underscore BTN. We're going to wire up this button now. And we're going to insert a new layer. We're going to call this actions. I'm not going to call it action script, just actions. Here it is. And in the first keyframe, in the first keyframe of the action script layer, we're going to open up the actions panel. And we're going to put in a couple of variables. We're going to create term, price, and monthly payment. So let's try this out. So in ActionScript, when we do stuff, term, and we put semicolon, or sorry, colon. Take a look, guys and girls. Once I hit colon, now I'm gonna put in the type here for number. Number is actually a data type in ActionScript, right? It's not like integer or decimal, right? So number would be 1. Term, price, and monthly payment. Term, price, and monthly payment. And we're going to change the values in a second. 360 and 350,000. Okay, we're going to save our work. And that's all we've done in there. So we've declared variables, and now what we need to do is we need to create an event listener for the calculate button. So again, there's 2 ways to do it. We can do it automatically with our code snippets, or we can try and type it in on our own, which is what I'm going to do. So again, we're going to add an event listener for a mouse click, and we're going to create a function called calculate monthly payment. All right, so in here, here's the event listener, calculate underscore button dot add event listener, and E and the L in the event listener are in all caps. I'm going to use my code hinting now for mouse events dot click, and then I believe it's called calculate monthly payment. Kind of a long function name. Function calculates monthly. I don't know what happened there. Monthly payment. And what we're going to do is we're going to put in a event, mouse event. And we're going to return void. What we're going to do in there is we're going to calculate. There's an actual loan, like a mortgage calculator that we can use. So I'm going to just hop out into editing mode for the PowerPoint, and that won't help me. Let's go back. I'll go back in here and copy everything in there. So var, loan, number, price, and so on. Bear with me while I type it all out. You can do the same if you're interested in following along. So I'm creating a local variable inside my function here. Var loan number is equal to price minus number. And what you need to do is when you get info from Flash, everything that's coming in inbound from Flash in your editable text boxes, it's coming in as a string, so you have to convert it into a number, just like we do in most UI applications. So I've got to put in there a number that I'm going to create. It's going to be the down text.text property divided by 100 times price. No, it's the other way around. Divided by 100. Multiplied by price. That's the first calculation. Whew. Will we finish in time? Var C is a number, which is a number of rate text.text divided by 1200. So the text property of a text, editable text box, right, is actually the value of whatever's in there, right? If we're using the text property itself. Okay, monthly payments. Almost done. Wow, this is crazy. Times C times math.power. You know what? I'm not going to finish it off. I'm going to let you do it. But anyways, what it does is, it's just too long and I don't have time, and we're running out of time. So I want to end things off for you like this. I'm going to give you a chance to do this on your own, just because we're running out of time. But basically what you do is you run it, and when you run the movie, it allows you to calculate everything. And down here as well, there's a section on loading up your own text file. I invite you to take a look at it. It's a useful section. But again, it's in general, I think we've covered the majority of what we need to cover for today.